2001 Mazda Miata Serpentine belt replacement. Let's get straight to the video, because if you're anything like me, then you're just trying to scroll to the information so you can get the job done, right? Because we all just want to drive our vehicles again. So let's go. Alright, step number one is that you want to take out this air intake tube. It's just 2 Phillips screws. Pull it out. Oh, there's also this line connected to the tube that you want to pull out. Very easy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the belts. So to remove the power steering belt, you're going to want to make sure that this pulley is aligned in a way to where the bolt that's in here, it's a 14mm bolt, is accessible. If it's not accessible, then you're going to have to turn the crank until the pulley is in the position that you want it to go in. You're going to also want a 14mm wrench in the back, because there's also a nut back there to keep it positioned. You're going to want to there we go. You just want to loosen these bolts. You don't want to take them all the way off. Next is you're going to want to loosen this tensioner bolt. It's a 12. I could loosen it by hand, to be honest with you. Alright, we loosened the bolt that's inside of the power steering pulley. Next, you're going to want to loosen this pinch bolt right here. It's also a 14mm bolt. Alright, these are 2 bolts you're going to want to loosen on the power steering. Here we go. Give it some slack. See, now there's enough slack for you to actually remove the belt. Look how old and crusty that one is. Look at that. Old and crusty. Whenever you buy a used vehicle, make sure you check things like this, because this will leave you on the side of the road, just like I was in my previous video. So now what you want to do is you're going to want to take off the other serpentine belt. But the problem is I don't have mine already on there because it broke. So since mine is not already there, what we're going to do is we're going to skip all the way to the process of putting it on. And putting it on and taking it off is the same process. So whatever I do to put it on, you'll do in reverse to take it off. Alright, as you can see, what you're going to want to do is loosen this 12mm bolt. And you can also loosen this bolt right here, which is also a 12mm. And then there's also a nut under the alternator. But for you to access that nut, you're going to need to go from behind the alternator. So this one might be a little tricky for most people. And from what I hear is that bolt likes to get seized up. So expect it to be trouble. I wanted to show you where that bolt was at. You got to access it through the back. Alright, so to have more access to be able to take out that 14mm bolt that's behind the alternator, what you can do is remove these 2 bolts right here. These are also 2 14mm bolts. There's another one right on the bottom of it. I won't be able to show you because it's really hard to get the camera down there. But once you remove that bolt, you'll be able to move this intake manifold support brace, and you'll be able to access with your sockets that bolt for you to be able to move the alternator. Once you loosen all the bolts for the alternator, you'll be able to move it like this, back and forth, which will release the tension for you to be able to put on the belt. We got the alternator belt on there correctly. Now you want to put on the power steering belt in front of that belt. Want to make sure those grooves are nice and clean. Obviously these things look kind of rusted out, but it's okay. They're perfectly normal. Once you get the belts aligned, then you're going to want to tighten everything that you loosened up. We're about to do that right now. Whenever you start tightening these bolts again, you want to get it to where you can't even really go halfway. So I want to say maybe a quarter turn, because it's really tight right now. Any more tighter, it might just snap. And now all you have to do is do the same thing on this side. Start tightening these bolts. Whenever you tighten all the bolts down, remember that you have this 14mm bolt inside of this pulley for the power steering. Same thing as the other side. You want to have at least a quarter turn for that tension. Alright, after you tighten all of your tensioner bolts and your pinch bolts and all that, the last and final step is to put your air intake tube back in. Make sure you don't forget to plug in this tube. Want to make sure you give it one final inspection, and that's how you change your serpentine belts on your 2001 Mazda Miata. Peace.
I'm feeling so blessed. All of them times with a pain in my chest. All of them times when my life was a mess. Now I'm out here chilling, not worrying about stress. Like Tony Montana. Remember them nights when I rode with the hammer. Shit pissed me off, big bro on this slammer. They started to hate me cause I got the glamour.